More than 250 experts in the traffic signals industry joined together in person to hear a range of papers here in Nottingham. These recordings are brought to you by AGD Systems, Colas, SRL Traffic Systems, Smart Video and Sensing, Vivacity and Unex Traffic.
Thank you. God, that sounds quite impressive, that, doesn't it? It's great to be here. It's great to be in a room full of people at last after so long. This is the first time I've spoken at JCT, but I say it's just great to be in a room full of real people in 3D and an exhibition. I've not done that for so long. I came in by tram this morning and I actually had to stop and think how to use the ticket machine because it's been over 18 months since I've had to wrestle with a piece of technology like that. So it's great to be out again. So, as you've just heard, I am Darren Capes. I am currently the Intelligent Transport Systems Policy Lead at Department for Transport, looking particularly at urban transport, so looking at particularly how we think about government policy and how we translate that into delivering technology, delivering services in urban areas. Now, obviously, there's a whole side of that which looks at interurban and the SRN and motorways. My focus is very much on urban. And that builds very much on my career. I ended my career in York about 3 years ago now as Transport Systems Manager. Had a long, as just heard, a long history of working with UTMC, with UTC, with Bus Priority, with all types of other technology. So I've got quite a lot of experience in this area, I think. And through the work I do with the IET, I think I also have a good grounding generally in technology, certainly in transport technology. So what I want to do today really is just talk about the view from the DFT, just talk about some of the things that are happening at the moment in the department which will be of interest hopefully to you. And talk quite generally about some things that are going on and then focus on a particular area around digital controller specs, which follows on very neatly from what we just heard from Keith around the work that Topaz are doing. So what's going on? I'm sure many of you have heard that we've just released £15 million for traffic signal maintenance. I'm sure there are plenty of people in this room that have successfully bid for that money, and I'm sure there are people in this room that unsuccessfully bid, and I'm sorry that you weren't successful. This has been transformational, and £15 million may not be a lot for the department that's funding Crossrail, East West Rail and HS2, but it's a start. It's the first specific pot of money we've had for traffic signal maintenance in many, many years. And it's the start, hopefully, of a long process of doing this. It allows us to focus on thinking about traffic signal maintenance, addressing backlogs, but also preparing for the future. It allows us to start to think about what we want traffic signals to do in the future, how their role will change as we get increasing connectivity, increasing appetite for sharing data and using data and modelling ever more complex optimization technologies, allows us to start to think about those types of technologies and start to put some money into funding this work. So it's called a Traffic Signals Maintenance Fund, and absolutely it's about fixing broken kit, but it's about fixing it in a way that works for the future. We have a webinar for successful local authorities and anyone that wants to join, organised by the Transport Technology Forum. That's on the 22nd of this month. And again, that will be to guide people through what we expect, what the process will be, how we expect that money to be spent, and how you as successful authorities and suppliers have a role in ensuring that we get this again. If we make a success of this, it's far more easy for me to go back to Treasury and say this was a real success, we should fund this as an ongoing programme. That's the real aim here. We're looking for general feedback on the process, and we're also starting to think about how we evaluate this. And guidance will be coming out, and this isn't funding that we give you and then you go off and spend and that's the end of it. We expect to see evaluation of this. We expect to see the benefits of government funding signal maintenance, because if we get this right, if we prove the case, there's a good chance we'll be able to continue to do this. We're doing a lot of work around new technology, really. I think this is really what I'm here to talk about, is new technology. Now, I think we all know that the world is changing. Vehicles are becoming ever more complex. Any of you that's bought a car in the last 5 years will have bought a car with a SIM card in it. Anyone that's bought a car within the last 2 years will have bought a car with eCall, the emergency location service in it. We're starting to see EVs, which have an incredible amount of sensing in them, as many vehicles do now. We're starting to see connected vehicles. We're starting to see the increased use of in-vehicle technology to inform and advise and provide safety advice to the user. This is all coming. And then autonomy is out there as well. And then in the background, we have issues around better use of data, around big data, better computing. 5G potentially completely changes the picture in terms of internet connectivity. There are lots of things swirling around now that we need to be preparing for. And I think anyone that's been in the business for as long as I have, for 30 years, will probably agree that we are really at it feels like we're at a tipping point now where things will change radically in the next few years, maybe more quickly than they have done at any time, certainly in my working life. We need to be preparing for that. So we have things like, we have projects such as Talking Traffic, which we are currently bidding for through the spending review. The Dutch have recently, in the last couple of years, introduced a project which has looked to work out what the use cases for connected vehicle data could be. What will it actually do for users and local authorities? What are the 6 things or 7 things it will deliver, such as green light advice and smart parking guidance, better asset management? And what they've done is they've collected those use cases and delivered technology to support them nationally across the Netherlands. And that's an absolutely exemplar way of doing it, because it allows the Netherlands to really understand what this could do, and it allows them to start to nurture this market and grow this market and get people used to what technology could deliver. We want to do that in the UK. We're currently bidding for money to do that, and hopefully, as we find out what happens through spending review, we may be able to announce something soon. But we want to start to deliver connected vehicle technologies. That's absolutely an absolute essential part of that is delivering infrastructure. It's delivering the right infrastructure, the right roadside infrastructure, the right communications, the right trust models, the right cyber security to deliver that. And this is something that we will be working with local authorities and suppliers, both new suppliers and existing suppliers, to try and really embed in the industry. In-vehicle signing and Glosser are particular elements of that. We have done trials of Glosser. We have evidence of that working. We have a number of trials across the country. We now have some financial evidence. We understand the potential saving in pounds and pence that a Glosser scheme can deliver through some work that Atkins did in Birmingham. We have Glosser potentially working on the Highways England network, the National Highways network, down in the southwest, and we're trialling it in other cities. And I know York are here today to talk about some work they've been doing, some really interesting work. Glosser is something which is nearly there. It won't be long before that's a commodity that appears in car brochures. So it really is close, and it really is something we need to be thinking about. In-vehicle signing is... In-vehicle signing is related. Why is the only way we speak to vehicles either through VMS, very expensive VMS at the roadside, or through news broadcasts on Radio 2? Why is that? Why is that the way? Why aren't we able to get live incident, event, congestion, delay, rerouting information? Why can't we put that into vehicles? And manufacturers are very keen to do this. Manufacturers are putting increasingly large, capable screens inside a vehicle, as anyone that's seen a new car will know. They don't want that screen just to be there to show you the album cover of the album you're currently listening to. They want that to do more stuff live in real time to provide better services in the vehicles. So we're getting a lot of push from across Europe from manufacturers who want to do this. The challenge is ensuring that the infrastructure is ready to deliver that, and that's something that we're now trialling. At the National Railway Museum in York on the 22nd of October, we're having a Transport Technology Forum event, and the real reason for doing that is to showcase 3 extremely exciting SBRI, that's Small Business Research Initiative projects that we've funded to the tune of £1.5 million. And they are projects that are looking at modelling and other computational techniques to better manage congestion. So we've built 3 tools, 3 projects. I think some of the suppliers are here today, certainly York, and I think a couple of the other local authorities involved are here today. We've built 3 tools which help with diagnosing traffic signal problems and where delays are on the network, help with rerouting around emergency closures and network changes, and help with understanding events and how you deal with them on the network. The event is on the 21st of October. Please come along to that. It's at the National Railway Museum, which I think is reason enough to go. National Railway Museum, I have to say, has the best sausage rolls on the planet. That's another reason to go. Come along. It should be a really interesting day. We're currently producing guidance on sharing data. Now, again, this is for transport professionals. This is about how do you open up and share data in transport. We've done some work recently as part of COVID. We've done some work that I think a number of you have been involved in, where we've been collecting data. Arup on our behalf have been collecting data from UTC, from parking systems, from other types of sensing. And we've been producing a weekly data set that was crucial, that was part of the work that went into SAGE, that went into what the Prime Minister came on TV every afternoon and talked about. We collected data and built a national data set of live traffic information, which showed us what was happening in cities. Now, the DfT, the government has never had that before. We have sensors on the SRN. We've never had it on the local road network. That's something we want to grow. We want to increasingly collect more data, and this is something I'll come back to in a moment. There's a presentation tomorrow about the manual for smart streets. This follows on from a project that some of you may have been aware of called LAMP, the Local Authority Mobility Platform, which is about providing guidance, a little bit like the DMRB, but for implementing smart technology, for implementing smart infrastructure. Again, crucial to ensuring that we do that widely. Other things we're doing, digital TROs and the National Parking Platform, big data projects to try and produce big open data sets from lots of data sources to enable people to build systems that can use digital TRO data, that can use national parking data. These are all things that we need to do if we want to see services rolled out widely. Have I gone forward too far there? Sorry, I think these slides are in the wrong order. They are. This is an old set of slides. Right, I'll work through this, but this isn't the set of slides I thought we were going to get. Okay, so we have launched a new traffic technology forum supported by LCRIG, the Local Council's Roads Innovation Group. This is something that has been around for a while. It's something that we're reinvigorating. It will be the portal between us in government and you, the suppliers, the local authorities, industry, in terms of how we take that debate forward about technology and transport. I would ask you all to get involved in that. The TTF has a website. We are now working again with Paul and Highways News. We're publishing information about what the TTF's up to. Please all get involved in that. Right, the thing I wanted to talk about in particular was a digital controller information specification, which is something that we're developing conceptually. Now, hopefully somewhere in this slide deck is a slide that will allow me to talk about that.
Take a quick look and see if we can get your...
No, you're right. No, I'll fight my way through it. So I had some slides which I was going to talk about, but I think the two slides in this old set are probably sort of explain it, and they're not quite as neatly curated as I would have hoped they were. Building on what Keith was talking about earlier, and the great work that Topaz does in establishing this national framework of specification that allows people to buy stuff without having to write their own specs, provides that open, flat playing field that we all want to be able to procure. Where does that go next? Where do we take standards such as Topaz 2500, and this is the first one we're thinking about. Where do we take standards like that next? Well, where we take them next is to turn them into a digital standard. We need to build a digital structure for how we store traffic signal controller data. We need to do that for a number of reasons. Connected vehicles will need to know about signal phase and timing. They will need to know that to be able to operate Glosser. How do you collect that information? Do we need a standard to do that? Connected vehicles will need to know what junction they're approaching. We need some form of national way of understanding signals, understanding where they are, nationally referencing them. At the moment, we don't have that. We've never really needed it, but in the future, we will need that. We need a way of knowing how many signals we have in the country. We don't really know that at the moment, which is quite something. The way to do that, in the same way that we're working on projects and investing heavily in digitising traffic regulation orders, so taking traffic regulation orders from a fundamentally paper-based system, paper or PDF, into an open data structure that can be used automatically in systems. In the same way we're doing that for TROs, in the same way we're doing that for streetworks information through Street Manager, in the same way that we're doing that for public transport information through BODS, the Bus Open Data Service, we're now considering whether that's something we should be doing for traffic signal controller data. And I believe it is. I believe it's central to how we, in the future, will describe traffic signals and how traffic signal basic data will be used by connected vehicles. But of course, it has lots of other benefits. If we have that data, that makes it easier for authorities to share data with suppliers. It should make procurement easier. It makes it easier to share the specifications you want. Having a digital format of TR2500 allows people to collect that data automatically. It makes it easier for people working on site to access data through apps or through a mobile device. It makes it easier to understand your asset and maintain that. It makes modelling easier. It makes it easier for a consultant building a model. I know that both AIMSOM and PTV are here today. I bet they would love to be able to get access to signal data more easily than they can do now. I think that's something we actually really want to do. What we should be able to get to is a place where we have a national portal where we can store data in a format to be able to do that. Now, we haven't done the work on this yet, but we have done some conceptual work. And this has been the aim of this part of the programme, really. It has been to work out whether this is the right thing to do. And we spent a little bit of money, not a massive amount. We've been working with Andy Graham and with Atkins, with a few others, with Ian Routledge and Peter Routledge, and some others in the industry, and some people who specialise in data, to think, well, what would this look like? Could it work? Is it possible? Is it something that would be useful? Is it worth investing the money in? And this kind of is where we are now. We understand that this is now something that we should be doing. We've taken some soundings from local authorities that have confirmed that. We've taken soundings from people in industry that have confirmed that this is something we should be doing. And actually going forward, we should be investing in this. So we've built a conceptual specification that where necessary fits into the wider ETSI specifications. And this is very much a draft. Please don't start to disassemble this. It's very much about just working out whether this is a concept that could work and whether it's something that would be useful. And we believe it is. So in the next few days, we're going to be launching a questionnaire to look at this and to get your opinions on what this should look like and work with Topaz and work with others in the industry to ensure that what we're doing builds on the work that's already there, doesn't replace anything, doesn't require new work from authorities, doesn't require you to renumber all your signals, doesn't require existing standards to be rewritten, but overlays that with a digital front end, a digital platform that allows us access digitally to that information and allows that information to be freely available to all. So that's kind of where we are at the moment. What we'll do is we'll circulate the address. The TTF website will have that on as well, so any of you that have access to the TTF website will be able to see that. Paul, I'm sure, will share it via Highway News as well, so I'm sure you're all in Paul's clutches, so I'm sure you'll see it through a Highway News story. Please, all of you, local authorities and private sector, when you see that, go to the website, contribute, give us your views, because it's very important that we do this collectively and we all fully understand why we're doing it and what we want to achieve here. But going back to the earlier slides, I think it's an essential part of us getting ready for connected vehicles, getting ready for new technology, but also delivering better, cheaper, more effective services in local authorities to actually start to do this work and think about this. So, you can see this is another one. The finished set of slides actually had a URL in there that you could have gone to and done the questionnaire. But sadly, we don't have that. So, my name's closing slide. That's Mr. Slide to you. And thank you for listening to me. No, thank you for listening to me. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you today. I'm sorry the slides went a bit wobbly. This is what happens when you complete the slides the night before the presentation. So it's completely my fault. But I think we got there. I think you've got what I want to say, and I think I've said everything I need to say. So I'm around for the rest of the day. If any of you want to speak to me or ask me questions now, please do.
Yeah, my one question is, you say you're willing to listen to other civil engineers. Can they just come to you, or do they have to come through the organisation?
Come to me. Email me. My address is obvious. It's darren.capes@dft.gov.uk. Email me. Get in touch through TTF. There's an info address at TTF. Fill in the questionnaire. Give us your information that way. Listen for further events, which we will be hosting, and we'll be publishing through TTF, through Highways News. There will be lots of opportunities, but if you have any burning questions, please email me.
Anybody got any questions, please?
One right at the back there.
One there. One there.
And one in the corner.
If you can go to this gentleman first, please.
Thanks. Very interesting presentation. Excited about the idea of the database, or however it turns out. Robert Mansell from Edinburgh. I'm just wondering if you're talking to the devolved administrations about participating in this, or you're doing it on behalf of all the UK governments?
Yes and no. Obviously, DFT doesn't run beyond the borders of England, so we can't mandate anything. We work through a body called Streetwise, which is a collection of all the national road authorities and national governments that think about ITS issues. And one of the things we are thinking about is how we build a spec that the others could use if they want to. I think absolutely we need to do that. We need to build something that, and certainly if you think about this in terms of connected vehicles, if a connected vehicle can collect data in Carlisle, it needs to be able to collect it further down the road in Dumfries as well. So the standards do need to do that. And yeah, that's something we are working on within the limited structures we have to coordinate around transport.
Yep. Simon Motley from DINIC. Just a question about, I know it's in its infancy, but the digital interface standard for controllers. Obviously, from what you presented there, it was very focused on asset management, representing the static data about where a controller is, what it is, the approach is digitally. Is there an intention that this will replace or supplement the real-time interface to the controller, so UG405, UTMC29 in the UK, TLC-Fi in the Netherlands, for example?
There's an aspiration, but we do realise how difficult that is and how difficult it is to fully capture the way that controllers work. So part of the exercise was working out what this could achieve, and it certainly can achieve understanding the basic data of the asset. There is some debate about how far we can go in terms of understanding exactly what signal controllers are doing at any time, how that could be expressed in an open data format. That's something that we need to develop, and I think as we move forward, and as we move through the consultation phase, then we will take a view on just how far our aspiration should go in this area.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we've got one more from Gaffar.
Hello, it's Gaffordin from Warwickshire County Council. Darren, you talked about new technology and new techniques to implement, but where is the training available to local authorities to deliver this?
That's a very good question. That's exactly the question I've expected you to ask, Gaffar. Thank you for that. At the moment, I don't think it is in anything like the right amount and right quality. I don't think there was enough training. And I think this is something government realises, that there is a real risk to rolling out new technology, to addressing the issues we need to address around coming vehicle technologies. There is a real risk in not having enough people, certainly working in the public sector, to do that. And a lot of authorities will struggle to get the right people. We're now working with a range of organisations, so we're working with the IHE, hopefully to produce some training around ITS for practitioners. We're working with the IET Academy to produce training at an engineer level in the concepts of ITS and CITS. We're looking at working with a number of universities around what graduate and postgraduate courses could look like in this. So we do recognise this, and we do want to work in this area. And I think in the same way that every time a large rail project is announced, they announce an academy or they announce an apprenticeship programme as part of that. I think we need to get to the same place in highways, and we need to get government thinking about how it needs to train to get ready for this. So absolutely, it's a problem. It's a very serious problem, but we are starting to make inroads into what we can do to address that.
I think that's about it. Okay, look, thanks very much, because I do think you need the input from these type of people with all the experience. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, yeah.